All right, it is 6 o'clock, so I'd like to call the meeting to order, the Water Commission meeting to order, and welcome. In consideration of others and the business conducted tonight, please silence your phones and any electronic devices and refrain from speaking unless recognized by the chair. Again, this is a public meeting for the community of Glendora. We appreciate and respect your presence here this evening. So now I'll commence roll call. Looks like we have Commissioner Shaw and Fields are absent for tonight's meeting. Commissioner Armel and Vice Chair Hansen are present. Vice Chair Hansen, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure, if you please stand. Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to reordering of the reordering and additions of the agenda. Does anyone wish to reorder or add to tonight's agenda? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to public comments. So I will open public comment and let's see, members of the public are invited to address the Water Commission. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once on both on and off agenda items. If you are in attendance, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the recording secretary before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, speakers should advance to the podium, state your name and subject matter they wish to discuss. If you are participating via Zoom, select the raise hand icon in Zoom before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, you will be unmuted, state your name and the subject matter they wish to discuss. So is there anybody in attendance who wishes to speak? Do we have any public comment cards?
No public comment cards have been received. We have no comments that have received via the public comment email and no requests via the Zoom meeting to give public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. Then we will close the public comment period and move on to commission statements and reports. Like to open up to the commission to give any statements or reports if they have any, starting with Commissioner Armel.
No statements.
Vice Chair Hansen.
I have none.
Thank you. Let's see, we'll move on to Director and Staff Liaison and Attorney Statements. Like to invite the Director or Staff Liaison to give any reports if they have any.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of updates. If this commission recalls, late last year, we had a special joint meeting with our council, and a critical topic of discussion was the Arwindale facility and the potential of revitalizing that facility in light of the uncertainties we face with our water supply and the immense need to really diversify our water supply portfolio. And so in doing so, we actually reached out to our regional member agencies, Three Valleys, and they have agreed to lead and orchestrate this initiative. And as a matter of fact, we do have two partners on board in Walnut Valley Water District as well as Roland. And as of yesterday, we did receive the Principles of Agreement letter to solidify this partnership, and we intend on going to our board or our council next month to finalize and execute this Principles of Agreement letter. So a couple other updates. As this commission is aware, we are in the process of undertaking a comprehensive water infrastructure assessment and rate study. It's going quite well. We're on schedule. The consultant is immensely engaged with our operators, and so we're very impressed. To date, we have assessed about 60% of our facilities, our booster stations, our reservoirs, well facilities. And so that's coming along well. A couple key dates I wanted to point out. Tuesday, May 24th, we will have a revenue model and expenditure. This will consist of internal staff from our finance department and our public works department. August 9th will be our first update to City Council. We have two scheduled City Council updates, so that will be August 9th and September 13th. In addition, we do have two scheduled community workshops. Those are scheduled for October 11th and October 25th. And this will give our constituents an opportunity to comment and understand why we're undertaking this critical initiative. And then lastly, we will have two public hearings, November 22nd and December 13th, in an attempt to really adopt this new rate structure. That concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Do we have any questions? Commission?
I have a question. When you last did the rate structure update was how many years ago?
This was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yes.
And that incorporated annual rate increases that came before the council?
That is correct.
Okay. So we have been seeing annual rate increases on our water bills.
Well, yes, and a majority of that is per CPI.
Right,
However, this current study will take a look at introducing an entirely new rate model.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you for that report then. We'll move on to special items. Great. First on the agenda is the regional water supply outlook and drought mitigation actions. I'd like to invite Assistant Public Works Director Ogalu to present the staff report.
Chair, today I'll be providing an update on the water supply outlook and discuss some of the actions being taken at the state, regional, and local level. We're now in the third consecutive year of this exceptional drought, and there's been some recent developments which will impact our recommendation today. Now, earlier this week, Metropolitan declared a water shortage emergency, and this will impact a number of member agencies, including our regional members in Three Valleys. And with that, we'll go to the next slide, please. So January, February, March of this year was the driest first 3 months in California history. This, among other factors, led the state to issue Executive Order N722. This is significant because this is the first time the state has called upon and encouraged local and regional entities to implement subjective drought mitigation actions. Next slide, please. And so about 90% of Glendora's water supply is produced from the main San Gabriel Basin. And there's much of the same story here. As you can see from this graph, our supplies are dwindling. Our current elevation is actually 184.2 and not the 181.3. This is as of this morning. And so we're only about 15 feet away from the historic low. And it's critical that we collectively ramp up our conservation efforts within this basin for a number of reasons. First, when you take into account all of the producers within the basin, our current operating safe yield is 150,000 acre feet per year. And our collective production rate is 190,000 acre feet per year. So there's that difference of 40,000 acre feet per year, which is generally replenished with supplies from the state water project system. With the uncertainty that we're currently facing in this system, receiving a mere 5% allocation, and in light of MWD's recent emergency declaration, a number of purveyors within this basin have committed to restricting watering to no more than 3 days a week. This includes cities like Arcadia, South Pasadena, Azusa. In addition to this, our regional agencies, Three Valleys Municipal Water District, recently adopted a stage 5 water shortage contingency plan in the past couple of weeks. Next slide, please. And so again, this will impact our water shortage plan level. And we do want to increase to a level 3 as opposed to a level 2, again, in light of the recent developments. The same criteria exists for level 3. First and foremost is the city's well production must realize a decrease of about 25%. We've met and exceeded this. Water levels have dropped an average of 44 feet over the course of the past year. As a matter of fact, we had recently taken one of our wells out of commission due to low production. And we've realized a total of about 37% loss in groundwater production. Secondly, imported water is needed to meet 40% of the city's system demand. And lastly, upon recommendation by this commission. Next slide, please. And so as we plan to adopt this level 3 shortage level, it will certainly impact our community. And again, this goes for level 2 and level 3, with the exception of bullet item 3. For level 3, watering shall be prohibited and limited to only 3 days a week, and still will remain from 8 to 5. Next slide, please. And so these are enforceable mandates. And this slide outlines some of the violation procedures as well as the fees. What we found is that our community here in Glendora are generally responsive and understanding of the need to conserve water, and usually abiding. There's no need to assess fees. And that's what we hope to continue that relationship with our public outreach efforts. Next slide, please. And so that leads us to our community outreach. A significant part of this is developing a comprehensive communication plan to be able to communicate with our residents, our businesses, our establishments, help them understand ways to continue to conserve and save water during these trying times. Next slide, please. And so that concludes my presentation with the recommendation. Number 1 is really to make a recommendation to City Council next month to adopt, again, a level 3 water shortage contingency plan. And then the Assistant Director, myself, will continue to provide regular updates to this commission. I'll be happy to take any questions at this time.
Questions from the commission? Commissioner Armel,
No, no questions.
Vice Chair Hansen?
I think I just have one comment that with the recent newspaper articles talking about the 6 MWD agencies that are impacted by what they call exclusive state project water areas. They did mention 3 valleys, but I would just like to point out, and I would make the argument that City of Glendora is not an exclusive area of state water project. In fact, it's treated water is 100% Colorado River water coming out of the Weymouth treatment plant. And in talking to Chisholm, I think, 3 valleys, they've understand that. And so, but I would argue that if draconian restrictions take place, that 3 valleys was going to pass on to Glendora, I would say that there's an argument to be made that Glendora does not have to abide by those. But with all that said, I do support the idea that we're all in this together and that we really should be supporting as much conservation as possible. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, then let's move on. And if there's no other comments, then request a motion.
Thank you. Then the recommended motion is to recommend to City Council to adopt a resolution declaring a level 2 water supply shortage and to have the Assistant Director provide regular updates to the Water Commission.
Is there a correction there? There should be a level 3.
Yes, that would be correction to level 3 water supply shortage. And then correction to the second recommendation that the Assistant Director will be providing regular updates to the Water Commission. You'll see that under the unfinished business items. That is a motion then in a second.
Want to say it out
Want a
loud?
motion in second?
I knew you were going to catch me. I'll move the recommendation.
I second it.
Thank you. That is a motion by Vice Chair Hansen, a second by Commissioner Armel. Please. I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Armel,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hansen.
Yes.
And Chair Nakano.
Yes.
That passes 3-0-2 with 2 absences. Thank you.
All right, then we will move on to our consent calendar. Does anyone wish to comment on, I guess, item number 3 of this consent calendar? Commissioner Armel, comments?
No comments.
Vice Chair Hansen.
No comment.
Okay, then can I request a motion?
Make a motion?
Uh,
I'll second it.
Very good. Thank you. That's a motion by Commissioner Armel, a second by Vice Chair Hansen. Please vote. We'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Armel,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hansen,
Yes.
and Chair Nakano.
Yes.
That passes 302.
All right, then we'll move on to member agenda items. There are none. So we'll move past that into unfinished business, the water conservation program update. I'd like to invite Water Conservation Officer Armando de Jesus to present the staff report.
Thank you very much, Chairman, Water Commissioners. Tonight, I will be giving the water conservation updates for the third quarter of the 22 fiscal year. Next slide, please. So I did make some minor modifications to the previous presentations that I've been doing, just to make it more visual and actually split up the items so you could visually see how many items we've been repeating. So obviously our clothes washers and our dishwashers have been one of our #1 items recently. In the past 10 years, that used to be toilets, but with the recent changes that we made last year, with dropping the 1.28 gallons per flush to 1.1, they're not as popular because they seem to be more expensive, and people are afraid of using less water for some reason. But we're going to attempt to try to push that program more by talking to all the local locations that actually do carry those items there. Next slide, please. Okay, so per Chairman's recommendation, I did went ahead and make some changes again to the slide, make it more visual. I know the numbers that we were presenting were a lot of numbers, so this makes it more clean. So regarding our rebate program, we did receive 30 applications this past fiscal year. I'm sorry, the third quarter, and we gave out over $2,856 worth of rebates compared to last year's numbers that we've have seen a significant drop on those, and it most likely is probably a lot of residents have been contacting us towards a turf removal program, and they're less interested in the actual items, so they're more looking forward to removing grass and participating and reducing their water consumption. Next slide, please. Water use violations, we did see 29 I'm sorry, these are the water use efficiency surveys. We did 29 surveys in this past quarter, and compared to last year, that's obviously another significant drop. And due to staffing issues, right now I'm literally wearing 3 different hats, and I'm doing a lot of different jobs, so I not have the opportunity to be going out in the field as much. So that help should be coming pretty soon, and we will be pushing residents to call us to see if they could invite us to their homes so they can start reducing water on their properties. So out of 29 of those properties, 17 of those surveys had to do with high water bills, and 12 had to do with our CC tags notifications that we provided to them. Next slide, please. Okay, so our violations, we received 37, we gave out 37 violations. Majority of them are broken sprinklers, excessive runoff, and a decent amount of watering during the rain. That happened to be in January when we did see little pockets of here raining, but those residents seem to understand the first time around that we notify them. We have not seen the same residents popping up left and right. Next slide, please. Our educational outreach program. I did get an opportunity to do a presentation to the Rotary Club, and basically presented our water levels, our rain levels, California mandates versus Glendora mandates. There was confusion between what the state is telling them versus what the city is telling them as well. In this picture right here, actually, a council member Boyer was showing show and tell. He took a hike over to Big Dalton Canyon, and he was just admiring the the dam right there. So he's showing everyone what happened that day. Next slide, please. Excuse me, March 14th through March 20th, we celebrated our Fix a Leak Week. And as you can see, we heavily promoted the program through social media. And our library actually ended up helping us to promote the program heavily with us as well. So we actually created and gave out over 200 bags. The bags had shower heads, leak tabs, and toilet flappers. Next slide, please. All right, continuing with the social media posts, we decided to do at least one post per day. Towards the end of the week, we were told that we were receiving less views, and that's due to residents kind of seeing the same kind of thing every single day. So this was a special occasion due to being a Fixed Leak Week. In the next upcoming weeks, we're going to slow down the amount of social media posts that we do, just so it doesn't burn out residents' information as well. Next slide, please. Our turf removal program, we did receive 2 applications during this past quarter, even though we actually did stop accepting applications as of December 31st. The applications did come in around Christmas time, and we were unable to schedule anything because of Christmas. So it was moved to the second week of January. So they were approved during that time. So we had 24 projects that were completed during this time, over 37,000 square feet of turf that was removed, and we rebated over $63,000 back to our residents. Next slide, please. So in total, starting from July 1st, we had a total of 61 projects that were completed, and over close to 98,000 square feet of turf that were removed. 3 projects were canceled, 9 expired, and we got over $163,000 worth of rebates back to our residents. Next slide, please. So this is just some show and tell from a couple of the projects that were completed during this time. Next slide, please. Another one. This one was a combination of multiple different things, and this resident actually sponsored a wedding in his backyard the day after this was completed. All right. Next slide, please. And this is just some artificial turf. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, in the joint commission meeting back in November, we were asked to conduct an assessment of our program to see if it's actually working. And based on the information that staff gathered, it looks like there was not enough reductions or consistent reductions of how many residents that participated. Over 361 residents participated, and very little of those residents actually continued over the 8-year lapse, that they did not continue reducing. We saw numbers kind of increasing one year. In other years, they were doing great, but they just continued going up. So staff decided to do a turf survey to our residents. We picked 50 participants, and we received 26 surveys back, trying to see if we could get some answers, if we can make some changes to the program. Majority of those participants saying that they actually saw reductions in their bills, but they did not actually see the monetary reductions based on the water bills or the water rates increasing throughout the entire time. Other residents actually used the program as a beautification project. So those residents that weren't actually using water installed plants, and now we're using more water than before. So it kind of served or defeated the purpose of the program. Their yards still continue to look nice, but they're still using more water at this point. Other residents no longer live in the property. They sold the property. New families are coming in, and new habits are inherited. Some residents most likely probably ripped out projects that the previous person did and replaced it with grass. But a lot of the projects are in the backyard, so we can't confirm that happened. And other residents straight out said, we don't know what happened. We did everything correctly, and we actually don't know why our bills continued going up. We did get some residents that actually did tell us that they had leaks throughout the time. One resident said that they installed a pool. 6 residents said that they had reductions of people in their household. Majority of them were teenagers going to school. But based on the responses of the survey and the assessment that we did, staff decided to no longer continue the program at this moment, and we are heavily promoting NWD's program at this moment. Next slide, please. Our city compensatory figures or our reductions. So this first slide actually will compare the usage from now versus last year. As you can see, during the first month, we did great, and progressively over February and March, those numbers just keep going up and up. So during this quarter, we actually had an increase at 3.65%, and rain difference was 3.16 inches. Next slide, please. So these are the numbers that are actually being submitted to the state based on the legislation that the governor passed last year. So we have to compare the numbers for now up to calendar year up to 2020. And this one is not doing any better as well. These numbers continue going up and up. As you can see in the month of March alone, we had a 37% increase. So in this quarter was 11.76% increase, and our rain difference was 3.78 inches. Next slide, please. So our we're still going to continue collaborating with our schools, with the Glendora School District. Most likely, we did do an assessment of all the schools. Most likely, they probably will not pick every single campus, where we're trying to focus at least 1 or 2 campuses that will make a difference, at least visibly, so residents can see that other agencies and not just residents are doing their part. Metropolitan Water District is still running their program right now. Like I mentioned before, we are heavily promoting their programs. We're handing out rebates during Earth Day this past weekend, and a lot of residents have been showing interest on the program as well. So our conservation plan, as soon as we do go to council and get that approval moving to stage 3, we already have a direct mailer ready to be sent out literally the next day. And everyone in the city will know what those restrictions are, what the rules are and regulations. Even now, after the news report that went out for NWD, for the past few days, we've been bombarded with questions with residents confused if those issues are being affected with Glendora, and we're just explaining everything that's going on. We're very transparent. We do tell them that currently these are the rules, but we cannot guarantee what's going to happen in the future. Social media posts, we're going to continue putting any kind of information as it comes in. Instagram seems to be the most popular way of communication, and through Facebook as well. Our restaurants and our hotel establishments, we are going to be physically talking to each restaurant and providing materials so they can start putting on tables, saying, especially restaurants, they cannot offer water only upon request to their customers, and the hotels have to institute a daily washing of linens and towels only upon request. So that should be done within probably next couple of weeks that we're going to be doing that. All right. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, Commissioner Armel?
Yeah, I just had one question on the pool cover rebate. That wasn't a rebate that I was familiar with. I was just curious what the details were on the pool cover rebates.
It's actually $50 per pool cover. Some residents have bigger pools, or some they're kind of weird. So every once in a while we will get residents that will buy 2. We will give you $50 for each one as well. But we've actually had that rebate for about 5 years. This is around time of the year that it's not as popular. Once we start seeing the weather increase, that's when we start getting more applications.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hanson?
Armando, great report.
Thank you.
Just one question. In reading the Three Valleys Municipal Water District report on conservation, I didn't see City of Glendora in there as getting any grant funding from Three Valleys. They get $300,000 to $400,000 a year to support a lot of the conservation programs that the member agencies develop.
Mhm.
And most of that money went to Pomona, Walnut, and Roland. Are you aware of that program, or have you applied for any of the funds from Three Valleys?
We did not apply for that when we did hear about the program, they were kind of at the tail end of accepting applications at that point. And then we were dealing with our own turf removal program. We actually attempted to try to see if we could combine both of our programs together. That way we could get residents to do that. But unfortunately, like I said before, due to staffing levels, it was way too much
Okay.
to juggle
Great.
during that time.
But a lot of the programs that you're doing, you could be getting some grant funding from Three Valleys. And so I would recommend that you find the time to contact them now for probably next fiscal year, especially with MWD, with what's going on. There may be some special monies that become available. So there's money out there. So
We'll look into it.
great, thanks.
Just a comment. Thank you for putting in the graphs and things in your
Okay.
presentation. It does make it easier to compare. Oblique news on the turf removal thing, but very interesting at the same time. So thank you for that report. So with that, if there's no other questions, can I request a motion to receive and file the Water Conservation Program update?
I'd move receive and file conservation program update.
Second.
Sorry, yes, that is a motion by Vice Chair Hansen, a second by Commissioner Armel. We'll ask that you vote. And we'll conduct a roll call. Commissioner Armel,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hansen,
Yes.
and Chair Nakano.
Yes.
That passes 302. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to new business. Is that about where we're at? Sorry, I have to scroll on the screen. I keep forgetting. New business, looking for the presentation of update of engineering division CIP programs. I'd like to invite Principal Civil Engineer Malia Ansari to present the staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Water Commissioners. Tonight I'm presenting Engineering Division CIP Capital Program presentation for this quarter. Next slide, please. In an effort to streamline the CIP project delivery, water main replacement projects has been grouped together with the corresponding street rehabilitation projects. The design and construction work for those water and street projects will occur simultaneously. Next slide, please. There are 4 different projects which are under design. Bennett Avenue from Branca to Pennsylvania, including 3 cul-de-sacs. I will say northwest corner of the city. Then there is Cumberland, Palomar, north of Lone Hill, part of Lone Hill, north of Foothill, northeast portion of the city. Country Club Vista, again close to Cumberland area. Mauna Loa, east of Glendora Avenue, and the other one is Bender Carter. That is in the south. It is not, because that design has been completed. It's not shown in this picture. Next slide, please. So Bennett Westridge, Bender, Washington will be replacing 7,000 linear foot of water main. Design is already awarded. 30% design plans are reviewed and back to the consultant. Design completion is by July 2022. Next slide, please. Cumberland, Palomar, and Lone Hill. 30-year survey has been done. Consultant is working on the 30% design submittal, and design completion is set by July 2022 as well. Next slide, please. Country Club and Country Club Vista, same status like I mentioned before, that there are 4 different projects which are going for design and construction simultaneously. So the status is same. Survey has been done, and my consultant working on 30% design submittal and design completion by July 2022. Next slide, please. Mauna Loa and vicinity east of Grand, north of the Wash. It will replace 5,500 linear feet of pipe. 30% design is underway. Survey has been completed and design completion by July 2022. Next slide, please. There are 8 active projects currently under design or construction. 3 are from fiscal year 21-22. Design services are awarded, design completion by July 2022. There are 3 from fiscal year 19-20, 2019 to 20. 2 are already awarded, and 1 will be awarded in July 2022 when the funding for the street portion will be available. There are 2 pumps and boosters related projects. 1 is already awarded on March 22 council meeting for Gladstone Reservoir demolition, and 1 is on hold until the water assessment, infrastructure assessment results are available and depending upon water master plan recommendations. Next slide, please. These are the projects that's shown, those 8 projects on city map, showing the different locations throughout the city. So it is pretty much well spread over the city. Next slide, please. These are the 2 projects which are under our Collin Avenue water project has been completed. All the new water main is in service. It replaced a 10-inch water main between Foothill to the Wash, and that is already in service. Project has been completed. Staff is working on project closeout. Next slide, please. These are some pictures of Collin Avenue, and this project also was combined with the street repaving. So there are a couple pictures, and the final picture is showing the street is paved, restriped. Next slide, please. The other project that is under construction, actually water main is all in place. The hydrostatic test has been passed, so the bacteria testing will be starting from next week. So hopefully everything will go smoothly. By end of May, this water main will be also in service. So far, there is 3,800 linear foot of pipe is in ground, 83 service laterals has been replaced, 8 fire hydrants, and 2 tie-ins on Valley Center. Next slide, please. So these are different stages of construction at Central Adamir, Lawford, and Cossack area. Next slide, please. Next. So by this, my presentation is finished. I recommend that the Water Commission receive and file the engineering division CIP program updates.
All right, do we have any questions or comments from Aaliyah?
You have a question? Yeah. Regarding, we talked about they're doing this in conjunction with paving. Is paving driving the water mains that we're replacing, or are water mains driving the paving?
I will say it is water mains. We are just doing where water mains were in their need of replacement. So we started that way.
Okay. And then we've probably gone over these numbers before, but I just want to remind her, what's our average miles of pipe that we're targeting for water main replacement annually?
We are targeting to go up to 10,000 linear foot, but
About 2.
this is our goal.
Okay.
And just to add to that, Commissioner, I know with the current infrastructure assessment that we're currently undertaking, that will reprioritize a number of our pipelines based on the number of leaks we have per a certain mile of pipeline. And so,
Yeah.
we will establish a new goal.
When that assessment is complete, what can an update be brought to us to share like the information?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Vice Chair? Yep. All right. Seems like I'll have a busy July, August when all those designs are complete and you have to go out to bid. So good luck when that rolls around. Other than that, do we have a motion to receive and file the report?
Make a motion.
Second the motion.
Thank you. That is a motion by Commissioner Armel, a second by Vice Chair Hansen. If we can vote. I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Armel,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hansen,
Yes.
and Chair Nakano.
Yes.
That passes 302. Thank you.
All right, move along into the agenda. Item number 6, local water supply outlook. I'd like to invite Water Manager Dale Wirt to present the staff report.
Hi, thank you, Commissioners. We're reporting on the local water supply outlook as for this last quarter. Next slide, please. Rainy season that we have goes from October to October 21st, 22nd. So far, we received 11.43 inches as of March 29th, and our average is 24. Northern Sierra snowpack is at 61% of normal as of April 1st, 2022. Colorado River Basin peak snowpack at 91% as of April 1st, 2022. And the allocation is at 5% plus the human health and safety. But some of that may change due to the recent events. Next slide, please. Upper District delivered 2,133 acre feet to the San Gabriel Canyon and Azusa treatment plant in January of 22. In February of 2022, they had plans to deliver 2,100 acre feet to the San Gabriel Canyon and Azusa treatment plant. San Gabriel Valley District made no deliveries in the months of January and February, and Three Valleys Municipal District also made no deliveries in the months of January and February of 2022. Next slide, please. Baldwin Park Key level wells, historic low was at 169.4 on November 21st, 2018. Historic high was 295.3 feet in July of 83. Its current level as of April 15th was 183.2. Next slide, please. That's a picture of San Gabriel Reservoir on March 22, 21. Again, you can see some of the debris that have washed into that basin due to the rains that have occurred. Next slide. There's Morris Dam Reservoir, March 22, 21. Again, you can take a look at the surrounding area. It's pretty full. It's been remaining full even over the last quarter. Next slide, please. There's USG3, March 22, 22. As you can see the spillway, there's some water coming through the Morris Dam into the river there, but USG3 was not active. Next slide, please. Committee 9 channel downstream of the inlet structure on March 22nd, 2022. There's some water going down there, a lot better than it has been. Next slide. There's Canyon Basin North Pit overflow on January 11th, 2022. And as you can see, water levels have risen up slightly below the overflow level to go into the South Pit. Next slide, please. There's the South Pit in March, the North Pit in March of 22. And it's up at the spill level away, just about. Next slide, please. There's a county inlet structure on March 22 of 22. Water being diverted by LA County into the south pit. Next slide, please. There's the North Pit overview from January of 2021. Highlights are the overflow infrastructure, which is at the basically the front of the picture there with the railing, and the aeration or air bubbles you see there in the back. That's the inlet from that channel we just saw in the previous slide. Now underwater. Next slide, please. There's the same view. As you can see, the water has reached the actual overflow level, not overflowing from the second pit, but the water in the second pit has reached that overflow level. And off in the distance, that aeration from the incoming water from that county inlet is still visible, and the water levels had continued increasing in both pits. Next slide, please. Currently, our 8 active wells are averaging about 5,942 GPM, and we haven't been taking any imported water from Metropolitan Water District. Next slide, please. That is, I asked that the commission receive and file the water supply outlook unless you have any other questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the commission? Commissioner Armel, Vice Chair Hansen?
Comments? No comments.
Yeah, Dale, nice report. The water coming into the canyon grounds, whose water is that? Where is it coming from?
Diverted right at the intake to Committee 9, where it comes into the Azusa treatment plant. Any excess goes down there. Also, any water the county wants to spread into their 2 pits comes down that channel. And as it comes down the channel, it splits off into what we consider the north pit. That benefits Azusa a lot more. And then it'll continue down, usually during the week. They'll let it run out into the south pit. It's unmanned, so they get a lot of debris that clogs the gates and overflows. So they let that run during the week. But those are the 2 pits that water comes from.
So you're seeing some benefit at your San Gabriel plant.
Yes, for sure, as compared to earlier in the quarter, for sure.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
All right, no further comments for me. So can we get a motion to receive and file the water supply outlook?
I'd move receive and file water supply outlook report.
Second.
Thank you. If you can vote. Is the motion coming up?
Go on, move.
There we go. Thank you. That is a motion. Sorry. Motion by Vice Chair Hansen, a second by Commissioner Armel. I'll take a roll call vote. I think we're missing one more vote. There we go. Commissioner Armel,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hansen,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chair Nakano.
Yes, thank you.
That passes 302. Thank you.
All right, moving on the agenda, we've come to commission or staff closing comments. Does any commissioner or staff have any closing comments before we adjourn? I'll look to staff first.
No comments.
Commissioner Armel,
It's just nice to be back in person.
agreed. Vice Chair Hansen.
First I'd like to commend Allison and Chisholm for moving the Irwindale plant feasibility study forward. I think that's going to become a critical component in the water supply infrastructure in the future as more and more droughts hit our region. Having more capacity and production out of the main San Gabriel Basin, I think is really going to benefit us. And so great job, guys. I also like to thank the staff for the new voting system, presentation system, and someone as an old dinosaur like me, if they can teach me how to use it, I did okay, but we'll work on that. So, but thanks for the training.
I think you did great, but yeah, I'd also like to echo, thank you to staff for taking the time before this meeting to help get us caught up to speed. And it is really great to be back in person and sitting up here with and seeing you all. So appreciate it. So with that, the meeting is adjourned at 6.